I think the average millionaire becomes rich by starting their own small business.
A lot of people, are sort of born into it.
Some of them work really hard and some of them steal.
I would say it's family money, it's old money.
I think it's a combination of working hard, being responsible with your money.
Smarts, being organized, and there's no way to do it without hard work.
Some of the major causes of poverty, the cycle of poverty doesn't help, which really is, I guess, the root cause.
Lack of education. Yeah, I think poverty is just kind of a vicious cycle.
There's not a lot of money being put out on the bottom level, I think.
Poor money management.
I'd say a big problem is just getting born into it and people thinking that there's no way out of it.
I definitely think it's possible to get out of poverty. One way to do that is to, like I said earlier, to network and just try, make sure you're getting in touch with the right people.
It just depends on a lot of factors. Luck could be there. Hard work could be there. But not only hard work could get you to be rich.
I think it takes them consciously making that decision and being open to receiving help.
I mean, all it really takes is willpower because we all have the same opportunities.
Been a bunch of people on Twitter over the last 4 or 5 months asking me to comment on this string of articles that seems to be building on each other. And there's just some absolutely ridiculous, moronic things being printed. I think it started probably with this Bloomberg Business Week article that Charles Kinney did. How did the world's rich get that way? And basically, this was back in April, and he goes through, and I'm not going to read you the whole article because it'll make you puke. It's just, Charles, you're a moron. Seriously. Unbelievable. The premise of the article is that when you compare the rich to the poor, the biggest factor contributing to their wealth isn't the decisions they've made. It's blind luck. We are a long way from equality of opportunity. The rich are rewarded for the same effort far more than the poor. The wealth of children can be explained by the wealth of their parents. Half of all jobs in the U.S. are found through friends and family. Wealth results from nepotism. These are the things he's saying. I mean, these things are just ridiculous. At any level beyond the local, differences in income due to inequality of opportunity dwarf those from inequality due to effort or talent. The choices people make are certainly important when it comes to how successful they are compared to their school friends or colleagues, but luck, not hard work, is overwhelmingly why the rich are rich while the poor are poor. USA Today Robert Frank did an article called "Is the Key to Getting Rich Risk or Luck?" If we assume that wealth comes from working hard, taking great personal risk, and coming up with great ideas, then the wealthy don't necessarily owe society for their success. But if the rich are simply lucky, or if they get wealthy on the back of America's publicly funded infrastructure, they owe more of a debt in the form of taxes or philanthropy. See, that's the core of this. It's socialism. It's the Operation Wall Street morons. The concept of, wealth is unequal, so we have to figure out that it's random and it's blind luck, as Charles Kinney says. New York Times article in April, Robert Frank says, although people are often quick to ascribe their own successes to skill and hard work, even those qualities entail heavy elements of luck. A person's salary depends far more on where she is born than on her talent and effort. Princeton commencement speech author Michael Lewis says success often comes from luck, yet the successful often rationalize their success as stemming from talent or work or intelligence. See, these are just absolutely ridiculous because all the evidence, as opposed to you liberal socialists' mentality, all the evidence supports otherwise. See, the premise of this is the guy who works at Walmart just wasn't as lucky as Sam Walton. The guy who works at Dell just wasn't as lucky as Michael Dell. The gal who works for Microsoft just wasn't as lucky as old Bill Gates. He was just lucky. The guy who drives the golf cart, he's not as lucky as Tiger Woods. The guy who's putting up the lighting and stringing it up on an hourly rate, he's not as lucky as Brad Paisley. The guy who works at Chick-fil-A is not as lucky as Truett Cathy. It was just blind luck. Do you hear how ridiculous this is? This is absolutely moronic. The problem is these guys keep beating this drum and beating this drum and beating this drum, and it does two things. One is it rolls socialism in with a red carpet, this idea that wealth has to be redistributed because it was just random, blind luck. I mean, you don't have any right to claim your success was from hard work or talent or both. And so you owe society. That's problem number one. Problem number two is if it's blind luck, why work? Why go get a degree? Why study? Why read? Why get better? Why practice your craft? Doesn't matter. It's luck. You see how demotivating that is? Churchill said socialism is government of the duds, by the duds, and for the duds. And that's what we're talking about here. It's grading the whole freaking culture on a curve because they're too freaking lazy to work. They won't get up, leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home. Here's the interesting thing. All of these things say, well, it's, where you were born, the family you're in, it's that, if you didn't get that education, well, let me help you with this. 80% of America's millionaires, according to Tom Stanley, who wrote the book Millionaire Next Door, 8 out of 10 of America's millionaires are first-generation rich. They started with nothing. They became a millionaire. But no, see, they didn't. That was just luck. Because they of course they didn't overspend, and they saved money, and they invested money, and they drove an older car, and they paid cash for things, and they invested in their 401k, and they worked hard, and they showed up every day, and they told the truth, and they read books and got better at their job, and they made more money every decade as they went along because they had a career track they were on, and they were thinking, and they were growing their business, and they were coming up with ideas and putting them into the marketplace to serve people. But they were just lucky. It was, what Charles Kinney say? Blind luck. That's why I called him a moron. Because he's a moron. That's why I called him that. That's ridiculous. It's absurd. It's above the pale. It's the idea that a farmer who plants seed and gets a crop after watering it and doing all the weeding and making sure that the land is taken care of versus the farmer who just stands back and looks at the dirt is lucky when his harvest comes in. It was just luck. It was just luck. Had nothing to do with superior intelligence, superior math skills, superior music skills. I mean, Michael Jordan is just luck. He was luckier than I was. I didn't get to dunk a basketball like that. I can't do that with a basketball. He's lucky. He has no more talent than I do. He didn't work harder at basketball than I do. He doesn't have physical intelligence that I don't have. He was just lucky. The same thing's true in business. There's Michael Jordans and Tiger Woods all in the business world. And luck had nothing to do with it. Had nothing to do with it. And so I've quit saying I'm lucky. For instance, I have 2 fabulous young men that married my daughters. I have the 2 best sons-in-law on the planet. I really am proud to call them my sons. And I made the mistake for a while. I was going around going, man, I hit the son-in-law lottery. And I finally woke up, I can't say that anymore because it was not an accident. For 20 years, I taught my girls how to pick a stud, how to pick a man, how to pick a man that knows how to serve in his household and knows how to work and knows how to walk with the Lord. I taught them how to pick. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't blind luck. You're so lucky. Your daughter's married well. Yeah, I taught them. Oh, and by the way, there a couple jerks drove up, and I run them off, too. I'll be here cleaning my gun when you guys get home. Don't pull up in front of my house, pick up one of my girls and honk your horn unless you're delivering a pizza. That's how things work, man. It's not an accident. It's not luck. You reap what you sow. We live in a cause and effect universe. And business and wealth are no different. You're saying all the poor people are not as talented? In some cases, that's true. In some cases, things have happened to them. And there's people beating up on them. And I'm all about giving them every advantage. I've been broke twice in my life. I started with nothing, and I went completely broke and had to start over. I'm so stupid I had to do it twice. So I'm, like, really lucky. Is this ridiculous? This is ridiculous. There's all kinds of evidence otherwise, folks. Not only just anecdotal, as you have good walking around sense in the culture, if you were to actually leave the media room at Bloomberg and go visit real human beings, you'd find these things out. But, go get my friend Jim Collins' book. He wrote the book Good to Great. He's got a new one out a couple months back called Great by Choice. Jim and I were sitting in a green room together, and he was grinning. He's a big research fanatic. He researches everything to the nth degree. He says, Dave, I've discovered luck. And it's not luck. It's a formula. It's work and talent applied in the marketplace, and I'm going to show you in this new book, Great by Choice. You ought to read it.